Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's Discovery Day Livestream. We are back with one of the most. This is one of our top stocks, one of the most anticipated live streams. We got Peter Hawley, CEO of Fabled Silver Gold. We're going to be talking about some very exciting news today of value creation. Which is the spin-off of the copper project. So we're going to have the copper dividend. Peter, first of all, welcome back.
Thanks very much, Jack. Glad to be here, and I'm glad to share some good news with the shareholders of Fabled Silver.
You have, you got a very large fan base. I know a lot of them are wearing the T-shirt right now, the famous FCO T-shirt. Infamous FCO T-shirt and everything. So for anybody that's just tuning in, our goal with these live streams is to bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. So companies going after, multi-billion-dollar market opportunities with multiple catalysts in place, and right at that inflection point where value creation is going to happen. FCO, of course, fits all those checks off all those boxes. And especially now with this new spin-off of the copper business, that I believe is going to be a big catalyst for the stocks, for value creation. So, Peter, I think what we should do is let's start with that. That's the most exciting news, and then we'll talk about an update on the silver and everything else, and we'll answer questions.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Jack. And first of all, to the shareholders who are watching or whatever else. This is not a deflection of what's going on in Mexico, and I'm certainly looking forward to talking what's going on in the silver project after explaining the copper. So let me just explain in a very high level what this transaction is about. And this has taken quite a while. It's a lot of my time has been spent at this when I do have spare time, and as such, the Fabled Silver originally was called Fabled Copper, and it had these copper assets. And the previous management, for various reasons I won't get into, failed miserably. And that's where I stepped in and took the silver focus. Meanwhile, I had to take time to evaluate these copper assets and to see what they're worth. And one of the problems, Jack, was that at the end of March, there was a property payment. And whoever negotiated these deals, it was the stupidest friggin' deal in the world. And this property payment that was due was $5 million. And there's no way in the world. I mean, so the first thing is to renegotiate that. And if you can't renegotiate it, we have to walk away. And we did. And we actually renegotiated for the sum of $200,000. And
difference.
A big difference. But you got to remember, I'm part Scottish, right?
Right.
So anyways, so that was the go date. Okay, what are we going to do? And we did a lot of work looking out for the Fabled Silver shareholders with taxation lawyers, because we didn't want to make this a taxable event if we were going to do something with the copper assets. So as such, what we're going to do under what they call a plan of arrangement is we will ask the courts of BC to set a date for a judgment ruling that will be held as the result of a shareholder special meeting. And that's probably going to be called in the latter part of July, Jack. And there'll be another news release out with the company with the exact dates, and also all the shareholders that get to vote at that meeting will be sent proxy materials and all this other stuff. So one of the questions that popped up is that, well, when can I get the shares or whatever? So what's going to happen for every 5 silver shares you have, you're going to get 1 copper share in the new company, free.
Okay, so if somebody has 10,000 shares of FCO, they're going to get 500 shares of FCO copper.
No, 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 no. 1,000 divided by 5.
Hold on, the math. Wait, if you have 10,000 shares of FCO,
Yeah,
how many shares?
divided by 5.
Okay, 200.
2,000.
2,000. Excuse me. 2,000. Okay, I gotta get remedial math.
So if you had 10,000 shares of silver, you would end up getting 2,000 shares of copper. And that date for that exchange is right up to the date that the vote is being held at the special meeting. And then after that point in time, that's off the table. That's
okay. Well, okay. So wait. So this is So this is basically like a 20% dividend almost.
yeah. You could describe it as that, a non-taxable dividend. Yes, correct.
Untaxable.
No,
it's not taxed. Okay. So what? So this is actually a pretty good deal. So okay. So let's kind of recap. So the main thing, I think the main thing is that the copper assets that you have, they were legacy assets in the company before you came into Fabled.
correct.
So that was there. When you came in, it had this copper legacy asset. It had the silver project, which, and your main interest at the time was really the silver project. So again, it's not like what sometimes how it is in this business. Sometimes companies they jump onto whatever is the next exciting thing, and that's not the case here. This basically happens to be you just essentially lucked out that all of a sudden copper is super hot right now, and it's going to be even hotter.
Well, and you know what, Jackie hit the nail on the head. And the truth is that not only did we luck out, is that as we'll see very shortly in the presentation, that these are sizable copper assets. These are not little showings of this and that. These are substantial.
Okay, so this, in theory, this could be worth, the way copper is going right now. I mean, silver is, copper, this could be, in theory, worth more even than FCO. So in other words, this 20% could be a game changer for investors.
Well, either way, it makes your cost base much lower going down the road.
In theory, let's say FCO is trading at $2, right? Let's say you get the big silver deal, the big silver, you get the big silver strike. But the way copper is going and the way you describe the price, and we're going to look at some of the slides. I mean, what if the Fabled copper is a $10 stock?
Yeah, never know.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. No. Okay, but let's do this. You want to maybe run through the slides and then we'll go back to, we'll talk about also, I think we got a lot of things about silver.
And to the people watching, I want to apologize for this presentation. We're currently working on one now that we've announced the creation of Fabled Copper. We're working on a proper presentation. So this is something I threw together just so you could understand of what you're getting for free.
I want to answer a quick question. This is a one-time dividend, right? You're not giving it, you have nothing else.
No. Yeah, I'd have to make more companies, Jack, and I just don't have it in me. Sorry.
Okay. By the way, I just wanted to correct. I think I have the symbol misspelled. FBSGF. FBSGF. Somebody just pointed this out. So let me just correct this on the banner here. Hang on a second. Peter, I can't believe you didn't remind me of this. This is FBS.
I'm too busy asking or answering your hard questions.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so FBSGF. We got that. Okay. This is, we get the math is off today. The spelling is off today. Okay. So let's pop up. I want to pop up the slides on the screen, and you'll kind of give us a quick recap. We'll run through the thing real quick, explain to people what this project is all about.
Yep.
And here we go. Okay. So let's. How do we do this? Let me. Okay. I will. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, Jack, can you, for the people that are watching on the first slide, those big tubes, that was actually copper cathodes, so solid pieces of copper, and that's how they're shipped. And when they go to a refinery or whatever to make, say, copper wire, then those things are cut down, smelted, and made into whatever material. But anyways, going on. If we can go to slide 3, please, Jack. So there's the property location of the copper assets. You can see the Yukon border. You can see the British Columbia border. And we're just southeast of the British Columbia border and just to the east of the Alaska Highway. Next slide, please. This is our claim holdings. It's kind of hard to see because it covers a large area. It's basically 3 very large blocks. And each block contains not only copper occurrences, but also copper deposits. And the one block referred to as the Neil property, the Neil has numerous copper assets in it, including the Neil vein. And the Toro property has numerous copper assets, including the Churchill. And the Bronson has numerous copper assets, including the Henson. So all of these are important, and we'll briefly run through them very quickly. Next slide, please. If we can zoom in on that, up top, yeah, just zoom in a little bit there, Jack. Thank you. So what I want you to note is 3 of these things are defined as deposits. And you can see up top in the yellow, you have Davis Keys, and underneath it, you have Churchill Copper, then Fort Reliance and David Keys, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you'll notice, you'll see, for an example, on the Churchill, you'll see that approximately a little over 100 million, or can you zoom in? A little over, there we go, a little over 398,000, or mine tons, yeah, 498,000 tons of ore were mined, actually from Churchill Copper at a grade of about 3% copper. And the reserves in the ground was a little over 1 million tons. So that's leaving approximately 100 million pounds of copper in the ground. And the same thing if you look at the Eagle vein, et cetera, these mines, or one mine, was developed, put into production. Second deposit was developed with tunnels going right through the mountain. Development ore kicked out the portals. And in the early 70s, the British Columbia government turned into a NDP government under Ed Broadbent and put a moratorium on mining. And these things have sat there since. But it's not only these big occurrences, it's what is causing them also. Next slide, please. So this is an example. Here's one that I have actually seen this vein. And from the valley floor, you go upwards for approximately 2,000 feet. And you go horizontally at the top of the mountain for about 1.4 kilometers. And then down the other side about 2,000 feet. And you can see it. And so a little description about what you're looking at. And then along beside this big vein system is a huge breccia. If we can go to the next one, please, Jack. That's what you're looking at. So there is the breccia and the vein. The vein's on the right-hand side, left-hand side is the breccia, and that's running up the mountain. Next slide, please. A little further down. There you go. And that's the other side of the mountain. And then that's the top of the mountain right there with the Neil vein, the breccia. And that was sampled systematically by channel samplings at the top. And it averaged 6.1% copper over 20.8 meters. And you can see it going down the mountain for almost 2,000 feet on both sides. So that's fairly substantial, I would say. We can continue on. Yeah, there's many here. There's Davis Keys, an example of the other one. The grades here are truly phenomenal, some of them, right off the wall. High as 24% copper. Massive chalcopyrite. That came out of one of the levels of the developed mine from the portal number 2. That's just massive chalcopyrite. So you as the shareholders, there's another example of mineralization. You're gonna own a piece of this. You're gonna own a very large percent of this copper asset, and I certainly hope you make lots of money out of it. And we'll do our best to develop this asset going forwards. What are our plans? I'll be coming out with a detailed news release over the next 2 or 3 weeks. There'll be one out shortly about the date of. This is a long. By the way, right here, this is a longitudinal section of one of the mines in the mountain, and the vein, the whole top of the mountain, covered, and the top lines looking down. These lines, blue and red. Those are actually the drifts going through the different levels, and that's the tonnage calculated through that. Interesting thing, they haven't drilled at depth, so you don't know how this continues. There's some assays right there. There's 24.47% copper from the Toro Churchill. Another one, there's actually cobalt there also. So 18.9% copper and quite a bit of cobalt. So the big picture is, there's lots of copper, but only why in a specific area. And that's what one of the things we're hoping to find out this summer, along with, we're using a lot of drone footage for doing special things. And if any of you watch Agoracom, I did an interview with George yesterday, and there's some drone footage on the property that we took. But this is very endowed with copper. It's going to be a very interesting summer. And it's one of these forgotten things that the amount of money spent on this property is tremendous since the 60s. To be able to do something like this again, who knows? So the question, like I said, is, what is it? You have these huge anomalies also that haven't been explained. And is that the source of the copper? So, Jack, that is the story on the copper.
Okay, so the copper story is great. Let's get to some questions on the copper project. We'll get to we'll talk about the silver project. Okay, so the bottom line is you're going to be getting essentially a 20% dividend, essentially for every 1,000 shares of FCO you have. You're going to be getting 200 shares of FCO copper, right?
Excellent.
200 shares. Okay. And this is going to happen in roughly 3 months.
What'll happen? There's a certain part of this we control, and a certain part goes out of our control. So the court set the judgment date, which will probably be the latter part of July. That'll be coordinated with our special meeting, which will be the end of July. So it's actually going to be shareholders of Fabled Silver who decide if they want to create Fabled Copper. Okay. And they vote. Now, once they vote, this is where it goes out of our hands, because now this process that we just went through with our shareholders voting for it goes to the Toronto Stock Exchange. Toronto Stock Exchange says, yes, we recognize the shareholders vote. Yes, you can create Fabled Copper with this. Then the next step is, okay, now you're going to be publicly listed. And then during that point in time, of course, I'll be raising money for doing the field exploration work, which will start early July.
Okay. So this is okay. So basically, the shareholders have to approve it. This is going to be a couple of month process.
Yeah.
Now, who's the team? Who's the team that's going to be running it? Who's going to be who do you have there? Who's going to be the CEO? Because it's going to be a separate company essentially. It's in about
it is. It's going to be a separate company, and the field people that are going to be looking after this. I can honestly say, one chap I went when I did my second degree at university, I went to university with him, and I spent a lot of time in the field with him over the years. And he's going to be heading what I call the East Coast team. And on the West Coast team, a lady by the name of Dr. Vanessa Barrett of Drones North, and she'll be manning the drone team, and along with the structural analysis in 3D. So what we'll be doing, and this is high tech, we will be flying drones, and drones will be sending out like a million point lasers, creating the topography in 3 dimensions, like a mesh in 3 dimensions. On top of that, it'll be taking minimum 5K photographs with a 30 centimeter, that's a foot, resolution. So it can be fine by taking pictures, and in 3 dimensions of it, actually any point in that picture, and you zoom in from 500 meters away to 30 centimeters, and there's a bunch of copper staining all around it. And now you know the exact XYZ at that point. You give that to your geologist, they give to the helicopter pilot. Okay, let's go look at this. Zoom, right there. Boom, you're on it. This is going to be interesting, Jack.
It's very, very high tech. So there could be some interesting catalysts, near-term catalysts in the copper project in the next couple of months.
Yep. Oh no, there'll be lots. There'll be lots.
Okay. In other words, there could be some news which could move that stock big time.
Oh, 100%.
Okay. Yep. Interesting. Okay, so this is gonna be, and you're going to be raising, I think, what, about 5 million plus for the
$5 or $6 million, Jack. Here in Canada, they have one thing where it's called a flow-through share, and basically it gives you a 30% discount on your taxes, and those are very common. So, but you can only spend it on properties in Canada, and of course this qualifies. So, I believe a portion of that may be done in that manner.
Okay, let's get to some questions here. Julia is asking, is there existing infrastructure process facilities at the Churchill property?
Oh, Julia, I'll tell you a story about this. And imagine this: in the late '60s, some mining companies were in this area, and they discovered the Churchill vein. And the Churchill vein ran up one side of the mountain, across the top, and down the other side. So they're so excited about this and everything else. They drove a road from the Alaska Highway up along these creeks right to the base of where this copper vein was, and then blasted a tunnel in there, far enough in that they could get in there before winter set down in high altitudes, and then proceeded like the Seven Dwarfs to work the all winter long tunneling in the mountain and throwing the waste rock out and living there. And that was the beginning. And after it was all developed and in production, and the government changed and it was shut down, it's just sat there. And so that road has deteriorated tremendously. And I do know that there's 2 major bridges, and they have been washed out. Part of the field work this summer is actually flying the drone along the old road so we can evaluate it to be able to work with some civil engineering teams to guesstimate what it'll cost to revamp that road and just put up a camp right there.
Okay. What's the expected time?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's a long ways off. I mean, ask me again after listening.
Okay. Let's see.
We said something about 8,000 meters. I think that's pertaining. Yeah. When will the 8,000 meters surface really improve?
We're talking about. We're talking about that's the silver.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's first talk about the copper, and then we'll get into the. Okay. So please leave time for silver questions. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So the copper project. Okay. So realistically, so there's going to be some near-term catalysts. How big can this really be? Like, how big? What's the upside possibility of?
Well, you saw one longitudinal section there, and it showed the side of the mountain and the tunnels inside it and everything else, and that contained in itself, that contained about 200 million pounds of copper down to the level of the valley. Now, does that go any deeper? I don't know. And they took about 100 million pounds of copper out of that. Now, the next one over, the Eagle vein, is the exact same thing, but has not been exploited, but it's been developed. And again, that has 100 million pounds copper plus, and open at depth. So the big thing is, Jack, you know, and I think where we're trying to do this summer is not only, you know, think out of the box, but also that, you know, we can get a drill program for next year set up and drill some of these major veins at depth and show that, you know what, they go down for another 1,000 feet or something. You have a major copper deposit vein systems, I should say. So, yeah.
Okay. So the plan for the copper is what is? I mean,
I have no idea, honestly. The only thing I can say, because of the size of the land package and the uniqueness of this and everything else, that if we can kind of explain where it's coming from in the bigger picture and everything else, this is certainly something that a very large copper-based company would be enticed on. So, and we just saw Rio Tinto. You saw that moved into took a big position in Casino in the Yukon on the copper play there. So,
yeah, there's talk right now of I'm not sure who said it was like $10 a pound copper. I think they're looking at.
Right now, it's probably about $4.60 right now. And I saw the guy that's saying he's an air conditioner guy. Yeah, there is. And actually, I'll tell you a funny story. And I know you don't want me to talk about silver, but I just got to tell him because he'll like this. Is as you notice, we increased our drill program from 8,000 meters to 9,200, Jack. The additional 1,200 meters is being drilled from underground. And so part of that is that these underground drills, because of ventilation, et cetera, they're electric. And so you need electric cable. And so we were looking at 450 meters of double-aught submarine cable, big spool of it, to use from the generator transformer down to the drill. It was so like, I couldn't buy it. I couldn't warrant spending the money to buy that real wire. Like I just couldn't, because maybe it's a one-off or whatever. It was that expensive. So thank goodness I have lots of friends in Mexico. So I phoned up some other friends of mine that have some mines, and in their warehouse they had a couple of reels of this stuff hanging around, and they lent me their cable. So yes, I know how expensive copper is, yes.
Yeah, well, the main thing I think is all the electric cars that they're building. I mean, they use a lot of copper. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, there's everything. It's a perfect storm. You're getting people coming out of COVID. They're going to start rebuilding again. Got electric cars. A lot of the big copper producers are getting tired now, so their price is going up, and all the rest of this stuff. So
yeah. Question, very important. Are you going to be the CEO of the copper company?
Mike, I don't know at this point in time. I'm CEO of Fabled Silver, and I'll drive Fabled Copper until it becomes a separate public entity. And then I'll see whether I actually have enough time to run two companies or not, or and who are you going to find? It's not easy anymore to find good people. So I got 2 or 3 months to think on that one, Mike. So I'll get back to you.
Okay. Let's talk about let's get an update on silver. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to go to the most current question. Okay. When can we expect to see results from the underground drilling? Will they be released as they're received, or what's?
Okay, that's a great question. And actually, we are, believe it or not, today is the day that underground drilling has started, after a few hiccups. And this is going to be quite interesting because you're right in the middle, or as I said to someone else, the belly of the beast. You're right in the middle of the Santa Maria structure. So to the back of you is mineralization, to the front of you mineralization, and downwards. So we'll be drilling these spans from each drill station down through mineralization. And these holes, they'll be 50 meters, 100 meters. They're not going to be big holes, so they're going to happen very fast. So you're going to see a lot of turnover of quick assays like crazy coming from underground drilling. So we'll be, as they come out and they're meaningful, as far as a section or something like that, certainly putting them out as fast as we can.
Okay. What is the drill plan on the silver property after hole number 16?
Well, we have changed things up a little bit since we last talked. I have not, well, first of all, just from the public, I'm not withholding any information or whatever, but I have not received any assays from hole 12, 13. We have submitted hole 12, 13. We have submitted hole 14, which has been completed with drill from surface. Hole 15 has been completed, drill from surface. Hole 16 went in yesterday, completed from surface. All of those, as of yesterday, I talked to the assay lab and I told them to put them on rush. And what rush means is going to cost me a lot of money, but I'll get the assays fast. So I would say, another week at the max, Jack, and I'll have these results for everyone. But and there is a delay, and it'll be fixed soon, and ALS apologize, et cetera. But I'm really excited about this. So we have moved the drilling around to certain areas. Very excited what we've seen. I think there's going to be lots of good news for the shareholders, not only coming out on that, but I've been working on another front in Mexico, of which I'm not at liberty to say. And for a while there was actually an internal blackout within the company. So I would say to you, silver shareholders, another week or something, and you'll start seeing some great stuff coming up. Plus, you got a free copper share.
Okay, so in the next week or so, we should get some news on exciting news. Okay.
Well, we better, because I'm paying for it, so I better get my samples as fast as possible, or I'm not going to be a very happy guy.
Yeah. Okay. So we have Omar saying, what happened when you said that you'd be releasing constant exciting news? And he's saying there's only been a couple of news releases and nothing too exciting. So where is the big exciting? That's what Omar is asking.
I wish I could put out a big exciting news, Omar, but I guess you really don't want a copper share, a free copper share. I guess that's not big news. I don't know. When's the last time someone gave you something for free, Jack?
It's been a while.
Me too.
We got okay. So what question are there any issues causing delays? Can the second drill be used to drill above ground?
No. Well, you could probably use the electric drill to drill from above ground, but you'd be good as long as your extension cord is, and the extension cord is about 450 meter power cable. But no, we have a lot of drilling to do underground, because, like I said, say the average hole is 100 meters, okay, and I'm going to do a minimum 1,200 meters from underground. That's 12 holes in a hurry. So let's see.
Okay, Peter, are you in negotiation to acquire more land with silver in Mexico?
I will say I'm always looking, and I will not comment any further on that.
Okay. No further comments. Sounds like you are. Sounds like something's brewing.
If I was in the United States, Jack, I'd probably take the fifth on that one.
What is one of the goals in the underground program to establish a depth of the Santa Maria project still open at depth? Correct.
No, that's a great question. One of the goals underground, there's a couple of them, but one of them is to be able to take the resource that's there, not only infill it, but move it to a higher category, which is measured. And measured is the step where you start becoming able to make reserves in 43-101 world. And so that's the purpose of that. So down the road, if you are going to go into a mining scenario, you're going to have real reserves with real mining plans behind them and everything else. So that's the first step of taking it further.
Okay. Do you feel that the Santa Maria is wide and predictable enough to cheaply mine? If so, what mining method and what is the grade cutoff?
That's a great one. And I'll tell you that Santa Maria structure and the north structure and everything else, it's the best of both worlds. And I'll tell you why. You have these very wide structures that are silver bearing, in some cases over 60 meters. And they're vertical, virtually vertical. And what that means is there's an underground mining method that's called long hole mining, where you actually take out, it's almost like a cavern, and you blast rings underground. And you know, one of the last mines that I sold down in Mexico, we were, one of the areas we were doing long hole drilling, and we'd shoot off, 150,000 tons of blast underground, boom, 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 all these rings going. So we can do that, and that is the cheapest method you'll ever make. Or, depending if you want super high grade, you just want to mine the high grade, you can go after the high grade on the footwall side and the hanging wall side. So depending upon what the metal prices is, metal prices falls, it collapses, stuff in the middle that's mineralized is not worth money, hey, you can still mine the high grade. Metal prices are high, you take it all. So that's both worlds.
Okay, let's see, what else do we have? Question about Peter. A few people have asked concern about the Mexican cartels. Do you think it could interfere with your business in Mexico?
No, for various reasons. No, I've operated in Mexico for too long. No. Okay.
All right, so I think we've pretty much covered everything with the silver. We've answered the questions with the copper. So the copper is actually an interesting, kind of like a little surprise, a little extra thing. That really basically can pay for somebody's shares of FCO in a few months with the way things are going with copper.
Could well be. Who knows what it'll do? I can't say it, but the project's real. It's not one of these things, where someone's looking for something with a smidgen of copper on it to hype it or something like that. This is real. Like, these are real friggin' copper deposits and everything else. So, and the economics is there. And you got to remember this, Jack. In the late '60s, when these guys were mining this, it was 80 cents a pound copper. And they don't, and you don't have the technology you have now and everything else. So, $4.60 a pound. Gee, a lot of these things.
And it could be heading to $10.
There's a lot of things, and there's some talk right now in Chile and Argentina, which are very big copper producers, that there may be some strikes down there. And if that's the case, that's very serious.
Okay, I guess let's wrap up the last question. What is the status of our relations with First Nations on the Muscle property?
Absolutely an excellent question, and I'm glad, Amanda, you brought that up. We have engaged our community relations officer by the name of Sid Nelson, and Sid Nelson is part of the band out of Fort Nelson, and Sid will be working very closely with us. Not only talking to the trappers and hunters in the area that our claims are in, but also the clan chief and everyone else. But excellent question. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, excellent. All right, Peter, always good to have you on, especially when you come bearing free gifts, with the copper shares. Very, very timely, especially right now. I think by the time that people actually get these copper shares, the copper market could be red hot by then. There's nothing slowing it down. There's really a serious shortage.
Yeah, no. It'll be interesting. Meanwhile, we have a crew of 10 people starting in July and working till the snow falls. So we have the East Coast crew and the West Coast crew and helicopter companies and all the rest of it.
Okay, excellent. Peter, thank you again, and we'll catch up with you on the next exciting news.
Okay, be well, Jack.
Thank you again.
Bye now.